Kia ora, welcome to this week's edition of Media Insider, the podcast. I'm pleased to say that today's guest is Sophie Moloney, the Chief Executive of Sky TV, perhaps the CEO in the media industry who's dominated the headlines the most so far in 2025. Of course, last week announcing the acquisition for $1 of 3 and 3 Now, and earlier this year going through some struggles with their satellite changeover. Sophie talks to me today about all of those issues, as well as the sports rights that are currently up for negotiation, most prominently the rugby rights.
Kia ora, Shane. Nice to be here with you.
Kia ora. Well, so much happening in the world of Sky in the last 12 months. I think you're probably, alongside NZME, probably the most written about media company this year in terms of, where the focus has been for my own column. I wanted to start today just with some news hot off the press last night, and that was the Netball rights. And Sky's had them for a long time, but unfortunately, I guess...
it's a bit of a bittersweet moment. I congratulate Jenny and Jodie on the news. Thrilled for the ANZ Premiership that they have a home next year. But it is the nature of the changing sports landscape. Really thrilled for them. And of course, sad that we're not going to have those rights, but equally understand the context and just wish them well. We've obviously got the Silver Ferns still. We do for the rest of this year as part of the current deal, and obviously with the Commonwealth Games next year up in Glasgow, the Silver Ferns will be featuring. So hopefully going for gold, no doubt. So yes, we still have the Silver Ferns. In terms of what happens with those rights, of course, we welcome a conversation with Jenny and New Zealand Netball at the right time.
In terms of Silver Ferns from 2026 onwards? Yeah. Are you keen to pursue those?
Oh, we would definitely be keen to have a conversation. Again, as I say, just thrilled for Jenny, thrilled for all of those wahine toa who get on the court, and an amazing win by the Tactics. So I think it's been a thrilling season of the Premiership.
So tell me a little bit, did Sky put in a formal bid in the end for the ANZ Premiership?
We've been in discussions with Jen and the team for a decent amount of time, but we couldn't structure a deal that made sense. So we just acknowledged that she now has a new broadcast partner in TVNZ, and we really do wish them well with it.
But, Sky has been the home of netball, I'm told, for the last 18 years. You've been a very big advocate for women's sport and coverage of, and making sure it's prominent. Why didn't Sky put in a formal bid?
Oh no, we have been in the bidding process. We just couldn't get to terms that made sense both for New Zealand Netball and for us. So then Jen has gone and secured the deal with TVNZ. And so, look, I wish them well. We absolutely love women's sport. We have a heap still on Sky. And of course, with the Silver Ferns, we'll celebrate that later this year with the Constellation Cup.
But I guess as the CEO, you're always balancing audiences, cost, the value to your audiences. What do you say to your customers who might have got a Sky subscription for the netball? Why is it just that the ANZ Premiership's not drawing the audiences that you need?
Yeah, so we look at, you're absolutely spot on, we look at our data and we have to make these informed choices, which includes the rights cost but also production. And that's how we weigh up can we put something forward that makes sense? And in this instance, it was just time for us to say with Jenny that it was the right home was probably going to be free to air as she looks to explore new revenue models. It's an incredible participation sport, no question of that. But it is a bit of a
viewership not as strong as it could be?
On the pay side, we have a lot of sport for our customers to watch. So that is part of the context of the new deal, no doubt, that she's looking at that free to air and thinking about those different commercial models.
Yeah, because I've seen an email from her, as I say, and that talks about netball actually paying for the production costs for the next 12 months for ANZ Premiership. So TVNZ doesn't have to wear that cost. I guess, was that an offer that netball made to Sky?
Oh, look, I'm not going to talk anymore about our confidential conversations. Again, I'm thrilled for Jenny and the team and all of those amazing athletes that they have a home next year.
Yeah, so just before we leave netball, there has been a lot of speculation in the industry that Sky was offering less than $200,000.
That is absolutely rubbish.
You were offering more than that? More than 200,000?
All I can say is that those numbers, I don't know where they've come from,
right?
But we've made a huge investment in netball, millions of dollars.
So I realise that, but in terms of the next 12 months?
That's just totally untrue. So I don't know where that came from. Okay. That's all I can say.
But we can expect that Sky will be in boots and all in terms of bidding for the Silver Ferns from...
We will definitely be doing what we do, which is a disciplined analysis, looking at our viewership data. And of course, we're going to continue to celebrate the rights that we do have for the Constellation Cup coming later this year. And of course, seeing those Aussies play, we love that. And into the Com Games next year. So yeah, let's see what comes.
And that's a good segue, I guess, into the big talking point for a lot of people, and that is the rugby rights. And I remember sitting down with you for a lunchtime interview a couple of years ago, and we talked about the timetable for the rugby rights that obviously expire. The 5-year deal expires at the end of this year. Can you give us an update on where everything is at?
Look, we remain in really constructive conversations. In fact, I'm pretty much in a almost daily dialogue with Bailey and all of the negotiation team on behalf of New Zealand Rugby. These deals are complicated, especially over the 5-year period, and you've got lots of different rights. So we're in those discussions, and of course, once we have something to announce, it will be going out on the market, and you'll probably be one of the first to know, Shane.
That would be great. But are you confident that your deal is still on track to start next year?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Paul Cully at the Post newspaper last week said that price is still keeping the parties apart across all bands of the rugby, I guess, sport at the moment. Is that true? Is it the price that is still the sticking point?
I think that we're just talking through all of the various rights and how New Zealand Rugby wants those to show up. And so it's all part of the mix, but I'm confident that we're in a good place and both parties understand the value that they have to offer. And we do believe we're the right home for the bulk of the rugby. Will there be something different from a free-to-air perspective, which has been talked about? I think that is one of the options. And again, we are very open to that and totally understand. As rights holders like Netball are thinking about different ways to go out to market.
Yeah, and we'll talk in depth shortly about the 3 acquisition. But is that still possible in terms of rugby that the deal will be split between Sky and TVNZ for
Yeah, it's certainly possible.
Right. So are you pushing from a Sky CEO's perspective for the free-to-air component to actually be 3?
I'm not pushing on anything because we haven't actually acquired or completed on that deal at this stage. What I can tell you is all of our decisions will be based on the viewership that we've got. And of course, ultimately, in terms of rights, it is for the rights holder, New Zealand Rugby in this instance, to think about what's the best place for them to place those rights.
But would it be tidier from Sky's perspective to have obviously the pay component on Sky Sport and Sky Go and so forth, and the free-to-air component on your new acquisition on 3?
Look, I can see there might be merit to that, but it's super early days in terms of the acquisition. And as we've been communicating, there's no change to the content lineup that we're talking about with 3 and 3 Now, and also with Sky Open. So I can understand people thinking that might be the case. But as you understand as well, there are production costs. There's a lot of costs you need to factor in, and what's the revenue you can drive. And then ultimately, it is for New Zealand Rugby, in concert with us, to work out what's the best place for something like the NPC from 26 onwards.
But at the moment, is the most likely scenario still that it will be a Sky TVNZ split? Is that what's sort of top of the list?
That would be my expectation is at this stage, and just noting we haven't actually completed on that 3 acquisition at this stage.
Yeah, and as I say, keen to get into depth on that.
And we've been in these discussions for a decent amount of time, so you can appreciate that
the rugby 3 discussions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But it's not too late, is it, in terms of changing up that free-to-air offer? If you really did want to push for 3 to be the rights holder there, or to be the platform there?
Yeah, look, again, for us with New Zealand Rugby, there's a heap of rugby that we've been talking about what we want to do with it, and so no doubt we'll be continuing those discussions. But I'm really happy with where we are, and the team have been doing a great job working together. It is a very detailed agreement, as you'd appreciate, given the financial commitment.
So you're not too worried if some NPC games do go to TVNZ?
No.
Right. And that would be a mixture of live games for TVNZ?
Look, all of that good stuff will no doubt come out in time, Shane. So for now, I would just say that we're excited to be getting closer to a deal, and the team are working hard.
When do you think the deal will be signed and announced? What time frame have you put on it now? Because I know you've lost one of your key negotiators in Johnny Errington. One of your great supporters and executives has moved on to the New Zealand Olympic Committee, right?
Yeah.
Has that delayed things a little bit from your side?
No, we've got a very strong team, and as I say, Bailey and I having daily, almost daily conversations. So no let up there. Johnny did an astonishing job for us. Thrilled for him and the New Zealand Olympic Committee. So no disruption. We're just cracking on. There's a lot of detailed work to step through.
And are you basically the lead negotiator now for Sky?
Look, as you would expect with these big deals, it's obviously a big approval moment with the board as well. So yes, absolutely, I would always stay close to it, even if Johnny was still with us.
Sure. Any suggestion that the 5-year tenure might come down in length, or are you still looking at a 5-year contract for the new deal? Right. Is it taking longer than you'd hoped?
Oh, of course, I quite like getting things done. Yeah. So, we're biased to action and all that, but equally, I do understand with the nature of the deal and what we need to step through, it has taken a bit longer than probably both sides would welcome, but equally, I do think I think we're close. And I think it's really important. Our customers really enjoy their rugby. The All Blacks has been amazing viewership in the recent series, and also Super Rugby Pacific, again, phenomenal viewership. So we are thrilled to continue to be a partner, and we welcome the opportunity, subject to getting to terms and getting all the right approvals in place in due course.
Yeah, we've spoken about this before, but I think it's worth discussing again, just for the benefit of the viewers and the listeners, and that is, obviously the landscape has changed rather dramatically for media in the last 5 years, and I think you've spoken publicly that, it wasn't just any price that Sky was able to offer, right? You've been very disciplined around the data, the viewership, and the benefits that rugby does bring.
Yeah, absolutely.
And does New Zealand Rugby understand that?
Well, look, there's always rights holders are always keen to secure as much revenue as they can, right, to make their own investments. But that has been part of the process. And you're right, we have been disciplined. That said, we understand that sports codes also need a certain level of investment to thrive, and we're really conscious of that. But we have to take into account all of the production costs as well as the rights costs, and we need to drive margin. That's what our investors expect. That means that we can then invest in other things that we know we need to, like customer experience and thinking about how we deliver our technology. All of those good things go into the mix. So yeah, that's been a bit of a process, but you're spot on. We look at our viewership data, we work out the value, and then we remain really disciplined in the bidding process for any and all rights.
So Greg Paul at the Herald has talked about Sky now offering $75 to $80 million annually for the rights. Is there any movement on those numbers, or are you?
I'm not going to comment on that. Confidential information, Shane.
The interesting aspect to the rugby rights as we move into other areas here is TVNZ becoming a free-to-air partner potentially, as you've talked about. Are TVNZ now a much stronger competitor for you than they were even 2 years ago? I mean, I remember at our lunchtime interview, I think your exact quote to me was, not to be controversial, but I don't see them as a big competitor. Has that changed in the last 2 years now?
I think that was in the context of pay TV.
Yes.
On free-to-air, as we've said. TVNZ is kind of in a category of one in this market. As you called it, the Empire Strikes Back of late. The Rebel Alliance is where we might be with Three. Yeah. So I think that I think it's really healthy in a local media market that you have strong local players who care about this place. And I think TVNZ, from all I can see and what they're doing in terms of their local storytelling, very much aligned to that. They have, Jodie's talked about moving into pay. I completely understand, right? Just as we have moved into free-to-air and advertising revenue, it's about diversifying. And I think there is a really good opportunity for them as they look to launch a pay platform, particularly on the event base. I think you talked about in the recent podcast with Jodie.
Yes.
I understand that. So I would say now, I think there's definitely a competitive landscape, but at the same time, it's really important to understand we also collaborate. So we are both broadcasters who like advertising revenue on linear for people to understand the value of that. And Think TV is one of the vehicles that we collaborate on, talking about the value of broadcast linear. As opposed to the big tech giants. I think there's a real opportunity to continue to collaborate in those areas, but there'll be others that we're going to compete on rights. So if that's what I said back then, Shane, I'd like to clarify. Yeah, I think they have changed.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, totally.
And that's quite clear. I mean, speaking at the time, obviously TVNZ's digital 5-year plan hadn't come to fruition or hadn't been announced.
One of the aspects I think people probably don't understand is that with TVNZ coming in and looking to launch a pay platform, they don't have the sports subscribers that we do, for example, in football. So when we're looking at our bid, we have to look at the advertising and sponsorship we can draw. But we've already got a number of those football fans who are Sky Sports subscribers, so we can't double count that revenue, right? It's just part of the disciplined bidding process. Whereas someone like TVNZ don't have those subs, so they get a bit of an immediate uplift there. So that's part of the dynamic. We're really alive to it. But equally, we're really focused on season-long sport that delivers day in, day out for our customers. But the big event...
That's the more lucrative kind of area for you in terms of having
you want
those
constant revenue and, just every weekend, consumers know where to look for some of the headline-grabbing sport on Sky Sport, and obviously that remains a core part of our sports strategy.
So you're not too worried then that TVNZ does have the rights for Football World Cup next year?
Well, your article said that they're the ones who have secured it. We know that we haven't been successful, that we were outbid. It was competitive. I would have loved to have won those rights. But equally, it is a big free-to-air event. And so, if it is TVNZ and that gets confirmed, I'll congratulate Jodie on that if the news comes out. But overall, to say that you're in a place where you're going to have all of the rights all of the time, you have to be more focused on what you're doing, because the revenue profile for all of businesses, particularly in the economic climate that we're in, is changing, right? So, we have to be focused on what we're doing, but trying to drive the right value for our customers. And events that are every 4 years, they're not the same subscription driving content that we're keen to continue to secure.
Obviously, all of this leads to a bigger discussion around the Three acquisition, and you've done a lot of media in the last week about one of the biggest deals, I think, in the media landscape for many, many years. When did those talks start?
So my counterpart and I have known each other for a long, long time. And
is that Michael Brooks? Or
this is James Gibbons.
Oh, James, Yep.
So he and I talked many years ago, actually, about what could things look like in this market. But really, these conversations, as I think Michael and I talked about last week, kicked off late last year.
Right. And from your perspective, what was the approach from Three? Was it if Sky or another outfit doesn't pick it up, Three's likely to leave the New Zealand landscape?
Look, I think Michael Brooks was clear that it wasn't commercially viable in the Warner Brothers Discovery ecosystem, as he shared last week. And it really is a confluence of timing that's enabled us, with our complementary strengths, to make this transaction happen. So,
Was it an easy deal to get across the board of Sky for you to?
Do you know what? I was going to say it's been I'm absolutely incredibly grateful to our board. They have stayed very close, many late night weekend calls as we progress this. These deals are hugely complicated, and particularly when you're dealing with different time zones and getting to the final completion, a huge effort by the team. So really grateful for the board, and of course they're making sure that we have diligence properly, that we've stepped through this, because we've worked really hard as a team to get Sky into the position that we're in. So we didn't want to put that at risk via any transaction. So we're really comfortable, and I'm really grateful for all of their support and good counsel.
And why do you think the shareholders, because the Sky share price has obviously soared on the back of it, I think you're at a 5-year high at least, why do you think the shareholders have accepted this deal as opposed to 2 or 3 years ago, when obviously they didn't want any part of the MediaWorks?
I think it's about complementary assets. I think the dollar transaction, cash-free, debt-free. And I also just think it is about, a bit of the trust and confidence that we're building up with our investors. But this isn't radio out of home. This is totally complementary, right? The one platform that we've been missing in our go-to-market is a BVOD platform. Three now is awesome with the audience there that's growing. And that would have been a huge investment for us to build a platform, brand it, bring in the audience.
How much would it have cost?
I think you'd be talking about $40 or $50 million without any revenue, right, against that. Whereas here, there's an existing audience, there is revenue, and so it's a great opportunity for us in our advertising revenue growth story to support that.
Yeah, and what are your forecasts now for advertising revenue growth once Three comes on board? What's your combined kind of power here?
Oh, I mean, on a gross level, we've talked about between our two businesses, it takes us to 150 million or thereabouts. But that is not a commitment. That's just saying what are the numbers saying right now. Once we complete and once we get into really understand everything that goes on in the business, we'll be able to give forecasts as we normally do as part of our results. But as you know, we're in blackout at the moment because our results are next month.
Sure. Since the announcement of the $1 purchase, we had the results released on Friday afternoon for Discovery TV for the last 12 months, or for 2024. That was a $77.6 million after-tax loss. Now, despite it being a cash-free, debt-free deal, you've still got to handle how you turn that massive loss around. Right?
Yeah, look, spot on. And I think what's important to note is that there's quite a lot of noise in those accounts. What we're going to be looking to do, as we've communicated with investors, is give them a bit of a bridge to show how you bridge from those numbers to effectively a starting point for our investment case, and to give confidence about how we get to that sort of at least 10 million EBITDA improvement by FY28. So that will be looking to give that bridge and give the confidence. The other thing is it's only got a half-year benefit of all the hard work that the Warner Brothers Discovery team put in terms of the massive restructures. There's a lot of property costs. So, I think we'll be able to tell a clear story for our investor base. But you're right, you don't get something for $1 if it's profitable. But we've got the clarity around the way that the deal is structured, and it is the fact that, content is the biggest factor here in terms of those synergies. Yes. And we've got clear line of sight of how we drive to those synergies over that period.
Well, isn't it going to mean for the viewers, you're going to have to start reprogramming 3 pretty quickly?
No.
In terms of, why not?
Because we don't want to disrupt the revenues that are being driven out of 3 and 3 Now. And we've built that into the transaction to make sure there is no change in terms of that content lineup. We have good confidence on that.
But aren't part of the cost savings or the synergies things like those amazing shows that you have on Neon that you can eventually transfer across to a free-to-air audience in good time?
You know what? It's one of those things that people think, content on pay must work in free. It's not actually how it works. Right. News and reality, very big in free-to-air. Premium drama, like we have on Neon, we've tried. It doesn't tend to rate quite so well in free because it's a different audience, different tastes, different wants and needs. So I think it's really important in the near term that everyone understands there's no change to the content lineup.
But eventually or not?
I think what you're right. We've got the ability to buy right across and think about who are the audiences for the content. So it does give us real strength there, but it's about delivering to the audiences on each of those platforms. But it is a great benefit for us. If you think about our content strategy of invest once and monetize across as many customers and eyeballs as possible, this is a great opportunity, but the way we've structured the deal means that we're in a good place. We've got a decent amount of time and a runway to give effect to those content synergies.
Sure. So that's interesting that, say, shows, Neon's got a stellar lineup of, shows that probably people do binge watch. You're saying that most of them won't necessarily work in a free-to-air.
Look, there'll be some. So there might be one like a Yellowstone, maybe.
Yeah.
Succession that
or
could work.
Yellowstone or no.
Not the viewership. I'm happy to be proven wrong, but equally, Shane, it will be for my team who are looking at the data, understanding customers, understanding what content advertisers actually want to be around. Super important part of this discussion when you're talking about 3 and 3 Now and the other linear channels. So it's not an immediate, we're going to lift and shift content. Could we window older seasons and window across? Of course you can do that. Heaps of optionality. I think the key message though is no change in the near term in terms of the content offer that we've got.
So near term for you, 6 months?
No.
Longer?
Yeah.
What?
Unless there's something that's like, wow, we must give that a go, let's give it a go, but certainly no change over the next 6 to 12 months in terms of that content.
What about sport? In terms of, you can pretty rapidly, couldn't you, increase the percentage of sport on 3 and 3 Now as a result of or do the rights deals prevent that?
Entertainment's different to sport. Again, our core business is subscription and pay services. So what's really important is that we don't disrupt the revenue generating engine on that side of the business.
Sure.
So no, again, I'm not expecting an immediate change in any of the way that we're delivering those sports. 3Now is a different platform for us to have a think about. And of course, those discussions, if we need to, we'll do with rights holders. On the entertainment front, it's vital that we get the rights that we need for all of the different platforms. So that's definitely a key objective of my acquisitions team going forward.
But just coming back to the linear and 3, the ratings for 3, aside, I think, from David Lomas investigates, 3's ratings have fallen away rather dramatically in a linear perspective in the last 2 or 3 years, including its news at 6 o'clock. Has Sky got a plan around how to bring those ratings back?
That will definitely be part of the mix going forward. And as you say, thinking about the content that we can either commission and have support of New Zealand On Air, super important funding body, or thinking about what other rights we might be able to procure. Of course, we'll be looking at that, but it's way too early to talk about what that might be going forward. You know, I think those shows like 7 Days have been staple diet. I'm hoping that those will be continuing, obviously. So I think that's the other message here for me is we think there's a great opportunity for local storytelling and really to see what we can do. We've got an amazing team in Sky Originals. I know Discovery New Zealand, soon to be Sky Free, also have an amazing commissioning team. And I'm excited about what we can do on that front. We've got a new Sky Original show called The Ridge coming later this year. It is so good. Co-pro with BBC Scotland. I'm absolutely thrilled. Now that is content that will probably sit on the pay side, as well as going into free. So I think
after a certain period.
Yeah. So I think that's where we've got some opportunities to start to really flex across the free and pay landscape, but with some great local storytelling.
You talked about the importance of news for 3. Do you think the resources for 3 News, there's enough resource going in there, enough focus?
Oh, look, there's, again, not going to be any change in terms of the way that shows up in partnership with stuff.
Do you like the bulletin? Do you watch it?
I do watch it. I watch it now and again. Yeah, and I can see that you can sort of see there has been a bit of a change, but I think the team do a really good job. Will there be an opportunity in future for us to have a look at that with stuff? Of course. And of course, there are other news providers like your good company who are doing some, innovating and doing some awesome things on the content front. So I'm hoping there'll be some other partnerships that we can look to engage in with. Now we've got 3 and 3Now. We will as of Friday once we complete. We're certainly not going to go into creating newsrooms. And I've had a lot of my mum's friends offering up lots of shows that they think would be good from a news perspective.
Are you saying that there is an ability or an opportunity here to put more investment into even if you're not creating your own newsroom, as most people will understand why that can't happen, but do you see the opportunity where you could partner up with Stuff or NZME and create new shows? Is that something that you would be open to?
If there are sponsors and there's an audience there, absolutely.
Because I think a long time ago, well not that long ago, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, you were potentially looking at an evening kind of chat show or a news show potentially for Sky. Is that something that's still on your radar or in your thinking?
And again, if the team are looking at it and they've got advertising partners or agencies who think it's a good idea and the audience is there and we can get the quality talent that we would need and it's going to drive a return, of course we'll look at it.
Sure. You talked about Sky Free and the New Zealand Media News social account this week revealed that Sky Free was a trademark that you'd applied for along with the logo. Can you just tell me how Sky Free is it a backroom kind of trademark rather than a front-facing audience?
Yeah, it's important when you have a company name. So that's, the company name, we had to change away from Discovery New Zealand within a short space of time. So Sky Free Limited is the company name and it's totally normal just to secure the trademark. Certainly not going to be a consumer-facing brand.
Right.
That's the question.
So will you keep 3 and 3Now into the foreseeable future?
Totally.
No plans at all in terms of changing that, even in a year's time? Or?
No, why would you? Those are iconic brands, right? From the get-go. Also 35 years old, like Sky. So absolutely not. 3 and 3Now, very important brands in this market.
Most people still call it TV3.
I do too.
So why wouldn't you call it TV3?
Are you moving
you're talking about
into branding and
Well,
marketing as well as video production?
Well, I think it's an interesting point, but around marketing, and I've spoken to a few marketers about it. NZME has a number of brands, Sky has a number of brands. Is there an opportunity here to become a little more uniform in what you're presenting to the public, or do you actually have to go with what the customer is used to?
I think it's all about the customer and what they care about. If you're wanting to change brands, it's a huge investment, and I think you need to tread carefully in that regard. So 3 and 3 now, iconic brands, Sky, an iconic brand. So no, don't read anything into a company name and a trademark.
You talked about the customer approach. You've had a hectic year, really. You have had of all the media CEOs, I think you've probably, as I mentioned earlier, been in the headlights the most. You had the satellite issues earlier this year. There's a Facebook page that's set up that has about 10,000 subscribers to it, about just solely focused on Sky complaints. Do you feel that things have now calmed down, that you've got your head across, that your execs and your team have got the head across those issues, the satellite? Are they now in the rear vision mirror in terms of the issues?
Thankfully they are. And the Net Promoter Score we're seeing through our customers has already been on a big uptick since we got through that. It's improved from where it was. So back on track. Super important we do keep delivering for customers. And I will say, you're right, we've had a hugely significant year. We actually delivered a heap of other projects during the year, which I'm going to be reminding the board about soon when I do a sort of full year review. The discretionary effort from my team this past year was absolutely phenomenal. I'm grateful. It's a privilege to get to lead a company like Sky at this time. But you're right, it's a huge amount of hard work. So we're now looking forward to delivering, continue to deliver for our investors, but also equally for customers, and starting to think about the customer experience. How do we make it easier for customers to find content, make it easier for them to solve any issues? You know, there's a huge infrastructure, particularly on the contact centre side, and delivering on our pay part of the business. And of course, if customers got an issue and they want to call us, they're entitled to. But we actually just want to make sure that we're making it as easy as possible and solving things first time. And our grade of service, a huge improvement. So the team have been working really hard. So yes, back on track and excited about the new financial year.
So for those 10,000 people on that Facebook page, what do you say to them? Because there are still grumbles from time to time.
Yeah, and look, I would say please do reach out to us direct. I have a team who want to solve issues and get it right. I suppose the one thing you might note is if people are bothering to complain, it means they still care. But equally, I would say please do reach out to us direct and let us help you and solve the issues that you've got.
Sophie, you've been a big part of and centre to a lot of changes in the media landscape in the last 2 or 3 years, and obviously the 3 acquisition is a big part of that. But more broadly, where do you see the state of New Zealand media right now and say in 5 years' time? Do you think there'll be fewer companies, or do you think there'll be more collaboration? Where do you turn your mind?
Yeah, so I think I do think our acquisition of Discovery New Zealand is an exciting opportunity for us to really celebrate creative storytelling, to think about how we can collaborate on the costs that are kind of behind the scenes in terms of broadcast and hub and resources, and creating pathways for young people to have roles in creating stories, super important. So I would hope that all of the companies that are here now are here in 5 years. We want to play our part, and I think that this acquisition really does give us an opportunity to show up and be part of the conversation, perhaps in a way that we haven't been in the past, because we've been seen only as a pay provider.
Yeah, actually, collaboration on costs is an interesting one. Do you feel that your acquisition of Discovery TV and the assets, do you think you'll speed up the move from linear TV and all the costs associated with that to digital transmission? Do you think you'll look at that closely?
Yeah, well, of course, we're always looking at how we manage our cost base. That said, what I'd say, it's really important to keep meeting customers where they are. Don't judge the world from your desk or your own kitchen table, as the John le Carre quote goes. It's really important we do keep delivering. And linear, there's a lot of life in linear. You're right, there is cost there. We've got Kim Nidblock in our team who's going to be working hard to see how we can continue on our digital transformation. You know, we already have 700,000 connected customer relationships we talked about last financial year. So we already are a digital business, but we also deliver via satellite and linear. And if it works for customers, we just want to make it work as cost effectively for us to keep delivering for them.
Yeah, and I mean, I think TVNZ's given it a kind of a 5-year pathway. Are you of a similar view in terms of that move from linear?
No, I think it's going to be longer.
Longer?
Yeah.
Interesting. What kind of period do you think?
I just think there are customers who maybe they're in their 60s. They've got a decent period of life to live, who might enjoy consuming via a linear transmission and might enjoy consuming via satellite. And I just think it's important we keep delivering for them. There will be a point at which the costs may not make sense, but I think it'll be longer than the 5-year horizon.
Thanks for sitting down with me, Sophie. Don't miss the weekly Media Insider podcast wherever you get your podcasts each week. And don't miss the Media Insider weekly column every Friday on nzherald.co.nz and in the Weekend Herald. I'll see you next week.